Hi lovely peeps, and welcome back to another training session. So today's session is mindset training number 5, and today is all about what is your training sessions that everything we do in life is in a massive cycle and it just keeps going around and around and around. We have experiences in life. Everybody has them. You have lots and lots every day. The experience is not negotiable. That is what happens. That is the facts. And you have no control over any of that sort of stuff. The way you think about the experience, about the circumstance, that is what you have control over. Your thoughts, the way you think about what has happened, the way you perceive it. From that thought, it will create a feeling for you about, because of the thought creates the feeling. And depending on how you feel, will then have a flow-on effect on how you behaved or your actions taken in regards to the way you've reacted to that experience or as part of the experience. Your reaction or actions or lack of actions then give you the results. The results is basically what you do every single day. That is your life. Your life is the results. And the results in your life try to prove that your initial thought was correct. That is what the brain wants to do, is to prove that your thoughts are correct. And that is the cycle that it goes on. So today we're talking about the reality. What is your reality? So let's get into the training session and we'll see if your reality is the same as mine. So, people respond to perception, not reality. Many people know what they want, but are not willing to work hard to get it because their perception is they do not have the right resources. So what I mean by that is people set goals and say, I want to, change careers, I want to have children, I want to buy a new house, I want whatever it is they want. And often they may work in that direction, but there's a part of their perception that believes, well, they don't have the resources. And what I mean by resources, it can be financial, it can be spiritual, it can be emotional, it can be lots and lots of different things. But it's their perception. It may not be reality, it's their perception. And whatever your perception is, which is your reality, is the way you will live your life. Everybody has their own perception, and you can't, or you can question other people's perception, but you can never change someone else's perception. So you have your lens, and you can compare it to glasses, to eyes. You have your lens. Your lens is created from childhood influences. So the role you played in the family, the number of children in the family, your beliefs and values. This is where your lens begins, from your childhood. There has been studies done on numbers of children and how that changes people's lens and where you fall in the family, whether you're the eldest, the middle, or the youngest. So there's been lots of studies. Not a lot has been proven either way, but there's certain personality traits that may come out and attitudes and things like that that do fall. But this is where you start to create your lens, and your lens is completely unique to you. Your siblings will have a different lens. Your parents, your partner, your children will all have different lenses. What you believe are natural skills and talents. So growing up, you may have been told, oh, you are so smart. And you are going to maybe naturally believe that you are smart. And your lens will portray that. Sometimes the blockages in that area is if you come against a wall and you don't go as well as you believed, and your belief system, your lens has told you all your life that you are naturally smart, that may cause a little bit of a breakdown if you don't have the right mindset to work through that. And another area is whether you had any life-changing experiences. Often, so for example, people say they can't give up smoking. I was a smoker many, many years ago. But the reality is, when a smoker is told they have cancer, many smokers have been proven to give up almost instantly. Now, nothing else in their life has changed, nothing else. They have been told they have a disease, and instantly they were able to change their perception, their lens, and go in a completely different direction. So that is where just some words were told to you and you changed your perception or your reality. Everybody else's reality. So everybody else, you can share sympathy, but is that judging another person's lens? So we've all done it. We've all looked at someone and gone, oh, I feel sorry for them because they have no kids. I feel sorry for them because they have 4 kids. I feel sorry for them because look at the state of their car. Whatever it is, we've all done some form of judging. But from their lens, they may see it very, very differently. They may think a big family is amazing. They may think, really, who wants kids? So you can have that sympathy, but often that is a judgment. Empathy, we can have empathy for other people, but that is through your own lens, because once again, what you see and what they see can be very, very different things. Something that usually parents have to realize is you cannot control someone else's reality, someone else's perception, not reality, perception. As much as parents try to control what their children see, and when you're parenting, often you try to teach your children your perception, and when they get to a certain age and they start to judge or question and then move into their area, it can be very confronting for a parent because it's different to what you perceive or what you taught them or what your belief is, and they're going off in their own direction. Okay, let's go to the next page. People respond to perception, not reality. I keep putting that up there because that is very true. It's their perception. It may not be the reality. It's their version of reality, but everybody's is different. So RAC, I was about to say RACB, it's a part of the brain that filters all the senses except the smell sense that are coming in constantly into your brain. So your brain receives over 60,000 messages in a day. So that's a lot. A lot of these messages may be in our subconscious and we are just totally not aware of them. Then there are some that we are completely control. The idea of doing mindset coaching is we bring a lot of those thoughts that are sitting deep in our subconscious and we bring them to the front, and we have purpose. We have purposeful thinking, so we are aware of what we're thinking. So this part of the brain, that's what it does, it filters it. Its job is to give the brain enough information that it can handle. Think of it as the gatekeeper for the mind, because the mind can't process 60,000 thoughts in a day. It just can't. So it has to filter it. So you have like a gatekeeper. This is like the gatekeeper that filters all this part of the brain. The gatekeeper lets through information to the conscious mind. So this is what we're all aware of. So there's lots of thoughts that are sitting back there that are there, but the brain goes, nah, I can't handle it all, so I'm going to put this information in front to you. The gatekeeper filters the important stuff, allowing the conscious mind to access the information. So what's the important stuff? Whatever you focus on the most is what the RAC will filter through, trying to prove that your thoughts are correct. So if we look at this in a very, very, very logical point of view, you're sitting there, your partner's sitting next to you. Everybody's brain works differently, and everybody's focus. What you think is important is your focus. Everybody thinks something different is important. So we may be in the same situation, the same circumstance, but we are going to see it in different ways because my brain is filtering information going, well, Nat's never really had any interest, so that part she doesn't need to be aware of. I'm going to put that in that filing cabinet, but this she really does need to know because she finds this very important. So probably if I compare myself and my partner, I hear words that my children say, and all of a sudden I click in and think, that sounds a bit unusual. My partner would never because that is very important to me. What my kids say, because often they'll say things and like it could be late at night and you're tired, but you go, oh, hang on, that doesn't sound right. Or there's something going on, just the questions they've asked me. Whereas my partner would be looking at me going, how did you even know? It's like, that is just what I do. I am aware of when my children say certain things. Yet, there's so many things that just flow straight through me and I wouldn't even have a clue, and I must look a bit dopey and go, didn't even hear that. So it depends on what is important to you, what you focus on is what will be filtered through. So for example, if you are a perfectionist, you may have grown up being taught and believing things like, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. Sick days are for the weak. Downtime, like watching TV, are for the unintelligent. Me time is just an excuse for the lazy. And never admit you don't know. It hands over control to someone else. So a lot of perfectionists have these sort of traits in them. They may not even be aware of them, and this is where, when you are bringing your thoughts to your conscious mind, you become very, very aware of it. So this is the perception, or maybe the perception, of a perfectionist. They have been brought up believing these things. It's just their belief system and values, and this is what they know. You only know, what you are taught. You can change it, but when you start, that is what you are taught. So this is your reality. If you are the perfectionist, this may be your reality. If you can't do it right, don't do it all. So this is the reality, and this is what you are thinking. I don't always put myself forward with suggestions because of fear I may be wrong. So because you go, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. You then may not put yourself forward because you think, well, if I'm wrong, I best not put myself forward for it. Sick days are for the weak. I haven't had a day off in years, but I am struggling with anxiety, but that's normal, isn't it? You may be building up a lot of tension and you just believe that's normal because you have the fear of a sick day makes you weak. Now that's your reality, that's your perception. Someone else's reality, someone else's perception is, seriously, if you're sick, you're sick. Downtime, like watching TV, are for the unintelligent. I judge those who enjoy irrelevant TV. And often, the place you judge the most is what you fear the most in yourself, is what you fear. So if there's some area in your life you are constantly judging of others, majorly, it's look first to yourself, because that is often one of your greatest fears. Me time are just excuses for the lazy. Even if I'm exhausted, I act like a martyr. There's no way I am having time off going to the salon or doing whatever, because seriously, that's just for the lazy people. And I would never admit I don't know anything, because then the other person believes that they're better than me, that I've handed over my control. And sometimes I could potentially come across as a know-it-all. So that is what your reality may be. This is what others may see in the exact same situation. That if you can't do it, don't do it at all. So let's talk in a work situation. She offers suggestions in a group. She offers suggestions in a group. I think the job, or it should be she doesn't. I've taken out the word doesn't. She doesn't offer suggestions in a group. I think the job is too hard. So your reality was, I'm not going to put my hand up in case I get it wrong. Someone else's reality is, well, she doesn't really offer much, so you know what? I reckon the job's actually too hard. Sick days are for the weak. Her quality of work has dropped. I don't think she enjoys her job anymore. Very different perceptions. Very. Downtime, like watching TV, is for the unintelligent. She can be very antisocial, as always puts others down when we laugh about reality TV. So if you can imagine this in a you're chatting in the office and, everyone's laughing about, I don't know, The Bachelor or some reality TV that's been on. Now, whether you watch it or not, everyone knows what goes on and, they might have a little sneaky watch. And for people to judge, it doesn't make you feel good when you go, well, actually, this is my time that I just sit there and I veg and I watch whatever TV I want. Me time or excuses for the lazy. Someone else might see it as very uptight, can be difficult to be around. Very different perception. You're perceiving yourself, if you do something for yourself as being lazy, other people are seeing you as being uptight. See how the difference in perception of they're very, very different? Never admit you don't know. It hands over control to someone else. Many people refuse to get into any form of discussion as she always has to be right. Always. We all know people where they have to have the last word. It doesn't matter what goes on. It doesn't matter whether we're talking childbirth to a male who's never done it, or whether we're talking the difference between, a cold and a flu to a doctor. It doesn't matter. We know people that have to have the last word. The power of accepting it's your perception. So when you tell yourself, this is my perception, the way I am seeing this story, this circumstance may be a bit different to the way my partner is seeing it. And that's usually a big one when it's to your partners or your children or your friend. When you start to accept that they may be different and yours isn't better than anyone else, otherwise you're judging someone else's lens. Your lens is no better than anyone else's lens. It's what you know. You start to question your own conditioned thoughts as to whether the thoughts still serve you. And sometimes some of our deep conditioned thoughts that we've had for many years, from childhood, from teenage, from early adulthood, they no longer serve us. They no longer serve us, and we need to let them go. Mine was definitely when it came to my eating, my dieting, my body image. It no longer served me. All it was doing was negative, and all it ever did. But it was a conditioned thought that I was not a good person, and it was no longer serving me. So I had to change that. You give yourself permission to change your thoughts. It is difficult. If it's something you've had and you've believed it all your life, it can be very difficult. Your empathy skills go through the roof. When you understand the difference in perceptions, you start to have a deeper level of empathy for other people. Not sympathy, but empathy. You learn to live in your own business and stop worrying about everybody else's business. One of my mentors, who is Byron Katie, she talks about the three businesses. We have your business, everyone else's business, and so my business, your business, the universe's business. And the only business that you can control, the only business that you really need to be in is your own business. So the universe's business is the weather, whether it's going to storm today, whether it's going to have earthquakes, whether there's going to be, sunny, those sort of things. Now, being in that business and worrying and stressing and being, you can't change it. It's not your business. You cannot change it. So get out of it. Just accept it, accepting it. And so there's my business, your business, being in your business, someone else's business. I am worried about someone else and trying to make them do what I believe is correct, what I perceive is the way they should do their thing. So then if I'm in your business, well then who's in my business? I'm not even in my own life. I'm avoiding my life to be in yours to make sure you're doing everything the way I like it. Doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? You begin to understand that even if you do not like what another person is doing, is saying, their behavior, you cannot control them or change them. It's their perspective, and they will always see things from their own reality. Now, I'm not saying that you have to accept it and agree with it, because if you are with someone and their values are very different, well, maybe that person's not right for you. But that's their value. You can't change it. They have to change it themselves if they want. It's their perception. If you don't agree with what they are doing, then you need to make the decision where you need to remove yourself, or they are not good for you. You are calmer. You are no longer fighting what is real, because we try to fight what is real. That doesn't work because it's real. We are fighting against reality, but it's reality, isn't it? So you just stay in your own business and work your own stuff out. And you find that you are happier because you are calmer and you are not constantly fighting against reality, because you're never going to win because it's real. And you are spending as little time in other people's business as possible. You still can't help it. People do it. I still do it. I still find myself sometimes in my kids' business and I go, back out. My husband's business, back out. You still do it. but you do it less and less and less, and you spend more time in your own business. So you find that you are happier because you're not fighting for other people to do what you want when you have no control. And you no longer just survive life, you actually start to live it because you spend more time in your business and not everybody else's. So you start living your life. So stress is like a warning sign that your thought is trying to fight with reality. Reality will always win. So when you are feeling very stressed, when you are feeling that anxiety come up, that feeling, you need to sit and write down what you are thinking. What is your thought? Because at that time, in that situation, you are trying to fight with reality. If it's your reality and it's something that is in you, it may be a belief that you know that no longer serves you. If you look at the thought and you are actually in someone else's business, someone else's reality, you are going to lose. It's not yours, it's theirs. So when you are in that situation, I want you to work out what you're thinking. Be aware, become conscious, purposeful thinking, be aware, and you'll be surprised what comes up. The same circumstance can be perceived very differently by each individual. The other day, one of my children was talking about a friend of theirs who is having a really, really hard time and struggling. Now, this friend has said to my child that they don't believe many people like them. They believe they're just scared of them. My child said, well, I like you. Now, when I was talking to my child, I said, now from your perception, from your reality, is that true? And this child said, yeah, of course it's true. I do like this kid. Okay, so from your perception, it's true. Yet from this other child, you've physically told them that it's true. From them, they've heard your words, but their thought is, it's not true. You only like me because you're scared of me. Same situation, same circumstance, perceived very, very differently. And no matter how many times my child says to this child, I do like you, unless this child believes or changes their thought that they are worthy of that like, it's not going to change. Do you see the difference in the perceptions? Neither person is right or wrong on how they perceive the circumstance, so why judge what the other person believes to be true? I must admit, growing up, well, obviously I didn't know a lot of what I know now, but, it was poor me. I suffered middle child syndrome. That's what I believed. That was my perception, and my perception is true. That is what I believed when I grew up. When I got older and I spoke to my mum about that, her perception was very, very different. She said to me, I'm one of five, I'm in the middle. She said to me, you were my only child I didn't have to worry about. You were the strongest. You were the most confident. You were the one I thought, oh, thank goodness I don't have to worry about this one. The others around, a little bit more. Very different perceptions. I did not know that growing up. I believed I was the least loved, and therefore that's what I would call my middle child syndrome. Often the way we perceive a situation is from an old belief system from childhood, like I've just mentioned mine, and therefore you have a very strong resistance against change. Even when my mum said that to me, a part of me was like, no, you never loved me the same as you loved the others, because it was a childhood belief. It was something that I'd believed forever. So to change that, it takes work and practice. I had to change my thinking slightly all the time until I completely turned it around. And another example I give is no pain, no gain. This states that unless it hurts along the way, you don't deserve success. And whatever your version of success is, and that is not true. My eyes, not true. Oh, and I missed the last one. It's just flicked through, and for some reason it keeps flicking off. Anyway, that will be it for this bit of training. Thank you for joining me for session 5 for the mindset coaching. I hope you are getting some information out of this. I do have a workbook attached with this session that you can start to write down your thoughts in certain circumstances your perception, and maybe then compare what you think other people may perceive or the way they reacted, and see if their perception is different to your perception, because I'm sure it will be. Any questions, let me know. Send it to me or the support team, support@bravingselfcare.com, and I will see you in another training session. Bye.